What is up, everyone? And welcome back to another episode of Beers and. Today, we're going to be talking about beers and the Yucatan.
Ooh, my God. It's like I slurred it all together before actually having a sip of anything.
Nick and I were just talking off camera how we're ready for this beer. So welcome in. As I said, I'm joined by Nick as always. Nick, how are you today?
Alex, I'm having a good day now. Now is my good day.
Yeah, for sure.
How about you?
I'm feeling the same.
I'm done with the day and ready for a beer.
Absolutely.
It is quintessentially Monday today. We're all over the place too.
I feel like you're absolutely right. So we're going to be sampling something from Kane today. I think it's our first one.
I find that hard to believe, but
yeah, I think it's our first one.
You're better than that.
This one's I feel like we are. This one's called Cloud Cover. This is in fact a Nick pick.
It is.
And we're going to get into it.
It is. It's a Belgian style wheat, which should be nice. It's a continental Pilsner with some red wheat, unmalted wheat and oats. Got a whole bunch of different hops in here too. Mittelfru, some Indian coriander, Curacao orange peel. Gonna have a great time.
I saw that with the Mittelfru.
Mittelfru? Yeah. We all know that. This is a German podcast now too.
This is the quintessential beer that I would never go to the store and pick.
Why is that?
It's the Belgian beer.
Oh, that's right. You know what? I think I remember this early on when I had picked a Belgian style beer as well. Yeah,
something similar. Yeah, I actually have to. I have to plug the laptop in. I thought it was plugged in. Turns out the plug is not in the outlet.
That's perfectly fine. We can just go ahead and make our way on through this. This is Nick. I'm one half of this duo. Alex is going to plug something in because that's the kind of professionalism you can only get here on the Beers End podcast, Monday edition.
And we're back. Welcome back to Beers End After Dark 2.
Beers End After Dark 2, where we needed to take a pause a couple different times so far, I feel. So far, it's slow and steady. Today.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's, well, like we said, it's Monday.
It is.
We're definitely out of our routine.
Yeah. It was needed today, though.
For sure. And speaking of needed, I'm gonna crack this beer right now. I'm not.
Oh yeah,
wasting
no
time. But also let's get into the question too.
Oh yeah, what do you got for me?
So I feel like it's been long enough at this point, Nick. Is there a beer that you look back on and you're like, oh man, I would love to have another one of those, or like a certain brewery that you look back on, you're like, would love to try more from them. That first one was real good.
And we've been fortunate enough to where I think we've had a couple of the same breweries so far. I would like to go back, and maybe try something else out from like Zigmeister. Again, I know that was an early one where we had, again, the Gardener, I think is what it was. I'd like to go back and try something like that. Yeah, again, me, it's one of those things where, considering I buy completely based off of packaging, there is some hidden gems out there.
Yeah.
And maybe I was just, wooed by the wrong can art. God knows that we've all been in that situation where we roll over and we're like, oh my God, I thought that was a good idea at one point. And it turned out not to be the case.
Funny how they both usually have to deal with beer.
Yes. Well, yes.
So this right now, mine is a pristine yellow color, very lightly hazy. The head is more of like that of a soda. It's dissipating very quickly. And
it almost doesn't even have that like kind of Belgian wheat look. It's a little lighter than I was expecting it to be.
It's a little lighter and also a little bit more hazy, I think.
Ooh, yeah. It's got that nice malty, yeasty sort of smell as well. And I love that.
That's super crisp. Yeah. Super crisp Belgian nose. Yep.
I'm surprised that we haven't had anything from Kane at all. I just pulled something in my back. We're at this age. I'm sitting down, for God's sake.
Welcome to Beers and Geriatrics.
Yeah, beers and geriatrics. It should be nice though. It's a 4.8. Nothing too crazy. It is
Yeah,
still
that's
Monday.
nice. That's nice and even keel.
Yeah, I think so. I'm liking the smell. I feel like I am getting some of that orange peel right on the
You're
front too.
also oh, definitely. And I get the coriander too, actually.
Yeah. Well,
You're really setting me up for my next beer. Luckily, this one's lower ABV because
oh,
after we get off, I'm definitely having another beer.
oh, oh, sir.
Oh, after my day today.
As to assume that I wasn't already in this mindset of, don't make a drink yet. Don't make a cocktail. Do not pour a glass of wine. You've got to get on and drink some beers first. So this is what I'm going to be calling a Kane base coat today.
Attaboy. Cheers.
Cheers to you, sir. Oh, I'm so sorry that you are not the biggest of fans of Belgian style, because this
is a good one.
So nice.
Yeah, this is so nice.
Crisp.
So I'm actually getting like a white grape note at the end.
Yeah, I wonder if it's because it's nice and cold as well. I wonder if it didn't have that chill on it, if it wouldn't be as crisp and having something like that.
It's not that old. It's only about 3 months old.
No, yeah, I think I picked these up a couple weeks ago. So
yeah, these stay.
I'm enjoying this.
It's pretty good.
This is one of those where you can kick back a number of them, I think, as well. I'm not going to cut myself off after one cloud cover.
No, this is quite crushable, as they say.
Crushable. I like that. Both spelled with a K.
I'm with it. It's really nice. It's almost like kind of like a jacked up light beer.
Yeah, it is. I think that's why I'm enjoying it, maybe, because I feel like I'm not looking for anything terribly complicated.
Right.
On a day like today. Like, I know it sounds weird that we keep harping on the day. Today, this particular Monday was really kind of gray. It was kind of misty out all day. It was kind of cold.
Yeah, it was nasty.
This is a nice beer that's clean. It's crisp. It's not terribly complex. It's brightening up my day just a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
It's making me want spring and summer to come back very, very soon. This is a good beer garden beer.
You know what I was going to say? This is a beer that I feel like you just did a bunch of work out in the yard. And it's nice and hot, and you come in and crack one of these. Oh,
absolutely. This is like a dad lemonade.
Yeah. Yes. This is pretty much as close as you're going to get to a shandy without it actually being a shandy.
Yes. Yeah. And you know what? And it's funny you say that. And I think it is the right amount then of the citrus from the orange peel. I think any more, and it would start to almost get that kind of, shandy to lemony, almost artificial sort of flavor. But this one's nice.
Man, it's so clean.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to. I have to move the cursor because it's when it's where it was is when it's the hand like this, and it just so happened to line up kind of like with your nose, and it just looked like my computer was picking your nose the whole time.
I love that. Damn. Put it back.
There we go. Done.
Okay.
It's not the best part is that it's not actually part of the recording at all. It's really only something I will see on my end. I'll put it in afterwards.
I know, but now that I know now it needs to be.
All right, I'll add it in. We'll see what we can do.
So you were right. Like, shame on us for not having a Kane beer before this.
So I can tell you the reason why I know I haven't picked any up in the past is because, how can I put it? It's like, because I guess it's there all the time for us. Not in a bad way.
That's fair.
But it's one of those things like when I have people that say to me, they're like, oh my God, if I see them with like sunburn, hypothetically, in the middle of like June or July, and they're like, oh, we were at the beach all day. At the beach all day. And I was like, what do you mean you're at the beach all day? And because, I live across the street, it's one of those things I quite literally, I go to the beach for an hour and a half because it's there. I don't need to spend 6 hours sitting there. So
Right.
don't, I don't know. Not that I don't appreciate it. I know it's there all the time, but Kane is one of those, like, I can trust it. There will
I
always
got you.
be Kane on the shelf. I've always wanted to try something else. That was a terrible way of explaining it, but
No, I'm picking up what you're putting down. I would say that I definitely don't pick it up normally because it's the basic distribution beers from them. Like
yeah,
I've had head high. I can get head high at any Applebee's in like 30 miles from here.
yeah.
I want to have the ones that we don't get to try.
It's the same sort of reason why I'm not necessarily going to immediately. It's not to say we never will, obviously. Not going to necessarily pick up like a carton or a boathouse or something like that. They're here. I can get them. So I'm going to try and see what's going to jump out to me that I usually wouldn't be able to get. Like that Icarus when we had tried it recently.
Yeah,
That was an Icarus that I was like, I've never seen this before. Let's give it a shot. Because otherwise, again, it's around.
definitely. And then sometimes those beers don't come back.
100%. I still feel like I need to go and pick up some of those canned peas just to be on the safe side.
You definitely should.
I need
And
to.
and that happens to me. I get like FOMO. I'm like, oh man, like the Scooby Doo beers. Those were part of the collector series for 450. So
Oh,
we may not see those again, or if we do, it might not be for a couple of years, and they'll bring them back, by popular demand or whatever. But
by the time we finished up those episodes, I don't think I could see them if you put them in front of me to begin with.
that's fair.
Realistically speaking.
That's fair. This is a damn good beer, Nick. Great pick,
Thank you.
sir.
What are you going to throw on it?
Oh man. 3.8.
Okay. All right.
Respectable.
I was going to throw roughly the same thing. I was going to say like a 3.75.
It's perfect.
It's a good beer. There's nothing that I think, a really conscious like craft beer head is going to sip from this and think like, oh, this is basic, this is plain, this is regular, and not enjoy it. And I also think, to your point, this is something that you could offer someone who might only really drink,
Light beer.
light beer and still find something really enjoyable about it. It's a safe beer.
It is.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. This is a very safe beer
It's a
to
safe beer.
suggest to anyone.
I think so.
I would be surprised if we found someone that didn't like this.
Yeah, unless there was like some really specific reason, like they're not a fan of the type of brew that it is. But even then, I don't think that it's an outlandish, like I can't imagine, again, how many folks do we know that don't necessarily enjoy like a Belgian wheat or a farmhouse ale? I know you're not a huge fan.
Yeah, but I'm the minority, I think.
I would think so too, actually. I would think so as well. So there you go. A good safe beer. And by safe, we mean for selecting and offering to friends, not safe as in, I don't know, go and fly a plane then.
But also don't do that.
No, don't. No.
We do not condone that.
No, not at all.
No.
I want my pilots drinking nothing but spirits.
On Spirit Airlines.
Well, I mean, what's the difference, really?
Oh.
Oh.
Nah. Yeah, that wasn't in poor taste. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna ask you a new question today, and maybe I'll start to ask you this from now on. What's your favorite part about this beer?
I think the sense of nostalgia.
Oh, interesting.
It
does have that.
It really does.
It does.
We are right in the middle of February. I can sipping it takes me back 6 months, but also makes me really look forward to 6 months from now when it's going to be again nice and warm and just so nice again. That's what I really like about this. How I do feel on the inside. The idea of being out there, being a social human being again.
All right. Okay.
Why? What is it that's doing it for you?
I like the orange and the coriander in the back.
I went a little heady.
That's okay.
I'm sorry. It's an interesting day. So I just went for a little, how it makes me feel.
That's fair. What did you find about the Yucatan, sir?
Yeah. So I found a couple of different things.
First off, what is the Yucatan?
So the Yucatan is it's a peninsula, the Yucatan Peninsula, in southeastern part of Mexico,
Central America.
Central America. Yeah, specifically, again, the Yucatan Peninsula, yeah, is part of, Mexico, I guess, overall.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, right in that southeastern part of the country. I believe there are 3 different states that actually encompass it. The state of Yucatan, another one is like Quixenru, and I don't know the third one off the top of my head. I won't lie, but it's that part of the country where Ted Cruz flew to while his entire state froze last winter. Cancun.
Yeah.
And that's how this all started. We were gonna do an episode on Cancun, and I was worried that we weren't gonna have enough necessarily, so we went for Yucatan instead.
And we have plenty.
If I can start off, I think, I've got a quick little fact or tidbit.
Lead us in.
But I think part of the one thing that I think is a great place to start, and one fact that really tickled my fancy, is the name Yucatan itself. Did you happen to look into this at all?
No, I'm not exactly sure what you're about to say.
So it seems like there was some confusion between the Mayans, who had lived in this particular part of Mexico, and trust me, now that we've introduced them, I would venture a guess that every single thing that Alex and I are going to talk about will involve the Mayans. They are predominant in this area. But when the Spanish conquerors had come to conquer, they would ask the local Mayans, what the name of where they were, what it was called, what was the name of the country, the land, whatever it was. And in Mayan, they had apparently answered Ma Anatik Katan. So like altogether it must, Yucatan, which translates roughly from Mayan into I don't understand you, which I think is
it's brilliant.
Just beautiful. Where are we right now? I'm sorry, I have no idea what you're trying to ask me. Yes, we are in this place of I don't know what you're trying to ask me. Okay, I see. So that I also think sets up the relationship that these native inhabitants are going to have with the Spanish for a very long time.
Very nice. Very nice.
Very long time. Yes. So that's kind of where I started off, if anything.
Nice. Okay. So like you said, southeastern Central America, Mexico, whatever. The Yucatan Peninsula separates the Gulf of Mexico from the Caribbean Sea.
Oh, that's right.
So pre-human inhabitants in the 1970s, some dude named Antonio Camargo and his friend Glenn Penfield discovered then, but they weren't able to verify. Wait.
1970?
Oh, wait, hold on. I have the No, I have the wrong I have the wrong information, the wrong topic. Wait, okay. All right, ready? Hold on. Topic switch. In the 1970s,
yeah,
2 guys, Antonio Camargo and Glenn Penfield, discovered, an asteroid hit just off the coast of the Yucatan Peninsula.
Okay. I looked up none of this, by the way, because you told me what you were doing, and I didn't even go near it.
Okay. So they found this in the 70s, but they weren't able to verify it until the 90s because they couldn't gather enough samples to actually confirm that it was an asteroid that hit here. But this is the crater is called the Chicxulub crater.
Yeah.
So it's just off the northern tip of the peninsula, right off the shoreline
Mhm.
is the center of this asteroid smash.
That's
Okay.
wild. Yeah.
The asteroid was 6.2 miles in diameter and caused a crater estimated to be 93 miles in diameter
Oh my God.
and 12 miles in depth. It's the second largest impact structure on Earth, harsh enough of an impact to cause a gravity anomaly at its location. So that if
12
the
miles in depth.
so the way it's
is
explained is that
wild.
because if the Earth was in a perfect sphere,
Mhm.
then the gravity on all places of Earth would be the same. But because this specific crater is so deep, in that crater, gravity is affected.
Oh, wait a second. So only in that crater?
In that crater, yeah.
So is it not falling at, what is it, 9.8 meters per second squared or something like that? Is like
Yeah,
the speed of gravity?
Yeah.
How did I, okay, so how did I not know this? So how were they able to even tell that gravity then is different
They're
there?
able to test it apparently.
I'm horrified and yet fascinated by what nature can do. That's fucking.
But wait, there's more. This is actually the only impact crater on Earth with its peak ring intact. So the entirety of the size of the crater.
Yeah.
And it's directly accessible for research. This impact would have caused a mega tsunami. Recent simulations,
Not just a run of your mill tsunami,
no,
but no, a
mega
mega
tsunami.
Okay.
Yeah. Recent simulations show that waves of up to 1 mile tall that would have reached the coastland of the entire Earth. Believe it or not, and I was able to find a way to tie New Jersey back into this. The debris removed from the Earth from this crater hitting
Mm-hmm.
actually shot enough debris like sand and stuff to New Jersey, and they found recently fossils under like 11 inches of dirt.
Holy shit.
Yeah, wait, it's not done yet. So fragments of Earth and asteroid ejected from the atmosphere from this impact would have been heated to incandescence. So incandescence is the emission of electromagnetic radiation from a body due to its temperature.
Mm-hmm.
Would have been heated to incandescence upon reentry, broiling the Earth's surface and potentially igniting wildfires. Meanwhile, shockwaves from impact would have triggered global earthquakes and simultaneous volcanic eruption. It's estimated that the emission of dirt and dust particles from the blast could have covered the Earth for several years, maybe a decade. And then they go on to explain how this would have destroyed everything on Earth because plants can't photosynthesize because there's no sun. It's all covered by dust. Like the magnitude of this is almost too hard to understand.
And I think that's why I've been sitting here quite literally with my mouth agape because I don't think that I can even fathom
It's insane,
this
dude.
whatsoever. Yeah, like okay, so we've seen we've seen at least tsunamis, we've seen volcanic eruptions, we've seen earthquakes, but when you say then that waves could have been a mile high, that is where I am sitting right now to Denver. In terms of altitude, I'm at 0, all the way up to Denver, and that being an entire wall of water is horrifying.
So this is actually what caused the Great Extinction.
Here, I thought that that was the only thing I thought that I had read, and I didn't know that. But this is assumed as to what killed off the
Yeah.
dinosaurs, correct?
Yeah, and it's because
Well,
of
and
all
then
these
everything
things
else,
that
yeah.
all these things that I mentioned, and then on top of that, the fact that if Earth was covered in a cloud of dust, all plant life would die. The surface temperature of the Earth would drop. I don't know how significantly, but it would, because no light could reach it. It's the magnitude of something, 6 miles. Like, I'm going to go in the car and drive 6 miles. Like, we don't think about it like that, but something that sized has this sort of impact. No pun intended.
A little pun intended.
That's a little bit.
So realistically, what they believe then happened, and what you're kind of saying is that in the immediate aftermath, the world was on fire first, and then was plunged essentially into freezing temperatures.
Kind of, yeah. And then, believe it or
Ah.
not, because of all of this, actually, it went on to explain how this affected the geothermal ecosystem in a positive way.
Yeah.
That actually led to, I guess, better life afterwards.
Well, my guess is that probably, there was so much like silt and sediment and whatnot. My guess is that that's why, there are so many plant species, for example, that might exist in various parts of the world, because they could have all originated in this one, spot. But now all
True.
of a sudden, between the initial impact and then condensation and evaporation, precipitation.
Nuts. That was a
Okay.
doozy. I had to stop. Like, I actually had to stop.
I'm glad that I didn't click on it.
That's
I
good.
mean that sincerely, because like I feel like
Yeah.
I would have went down the same exact sort of rabbit hole. And don't know what I would have necessarily done as a result. Related, mildly related to what you have you ever heard of a spot called Ikkil?
That's going to be no, Bob.
Okay. Show me no, Bob. So it's a cenote outside of a city called Pizet or Piste.
I'm sorry to cut you off. I saw that word too somewhere.
Cenote.
I didn't look it up.
I did, so we're good on that, because I kept thinking to myself, like, am I also, pronouncing it correctly? But it is. It's like cenote.
So what does it mean?
So it's a natural pit or sinkhole resulting from the collapse of limescale bedrock. Yeah, that exposes groundwater. So specifically, this Ikkil is a cenote, and the word itself, or this like pit, if you will, is indicative of the Yucatan. It's really where a majority of these exist. And these were assumed to have been places for like human sacrifices to the rain god. And again, forgive me if I'm, pronouncing this incorrectly, but Chalk or Shock. So essentially, like, if you imagine almost like a grotto, if you will, but straight down. So I remember what we were talking about with those sinkholes, the limes. That's essentially what these things are. They're these massive holes that expose then groundwater underneath. So this particular one, Ikkil, like, is open to the public to go like swimming in, and essentially you are in a huge, deep hole surrounded by and then swimming in like groundwater the entire time.
They're insane to look at.
Oh, it's wild. The reason why or the reason how they had figured out that these were utilized for human sacrifices is because I was looking at the door expecting someone to walk in, and then remembering that nobody should be walking in.
Right.
The way that they had realized that these were used for human sacrifices is that archaeologists had started to obviously, dig around, see what there was. And under the water, they had started to find bones and pieces of jewelry that had belonged, to folks who had been kind of like dropped in to these massive, essentially, holes. And in particular, again, it was for this rain deity named Shock. And anytime we see Chalk, and I tried to get into some of the like Mayan gods, but there are so many different like periods of deities.
Oh,
So I just kind of covered him real quick. So he's depicted with having a human body. However, the human body is covered with scales, as if a reptile or an amphibian. And then he's got like a non-human head with kind of a longer nose and like these giant fangs instead. So there are a couple different like versions of his origin or his, mythology around him. And one of the ones that they kind of go by is that he is the brother of the sun. And together, the son and he had defeated and like killed their adoptive mother, their aged or their old adoptive mother, and her lover. He later, after that, commits adultery by sleeping with his brother's wife. So, like, basically, then this Shock sleeps with the sun god's wife and is subsequently then punished. And he's consistently punished. And the thought is that his tears, in fact, are what rain is.
oh, cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So we get rain because one god slept with his sister-in-law.
Well, when you put it that way,
As we all believe at this point.
that is how rain, right?
I think so. I mean,
Right.
that's
Sure.
yeah, I believe that sounds right.
It's always so fascinating, the different cultures and the deities that they worship and the stories behind them.
The only other one that I looked at and I erased it, but I remembered it at least off the top of my head that I had thought that you and I think would both like is they had a god named Akat or Akat, A-C-A-T. And he was the god of tattooing because they had believed that if you were to get a tattoo of a god, that you would be given some portion of that god's abilities or powers. So naturally, they're like, okay, well, there's got to be then a god for the actual process of tattooing. So he used to like bless the needle and the ink and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, right.
Oh, too cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so we talked about them before. You did anyway. You talked about the Mayans.
Oh yeah.
So I didn't realize how and this is going to sound like an oxymoron, widely spread but also localized they actually were.
Yeah. I don't think I
So
realized it either.
yeah, so they were pretty much confined to the Yucatan Peninsula and just the neighboring places right around it. But the area that when we talk about the Mayans, the area that they inhabited were deemed the tropical lowlands of actually modern day Guatemala.
Right. I thought so, right? Guatemala?
Yes. So the Maya Empire reached the peak of its power and influence around 6th century AD. They excelled at agriculture, pottery, hieroglyph writing, calendar making, and mathematics.
I don't mean to laugh, but it's just one of those things where it's like, what are you good at? I'm really good at mathematics.
Pottery.
Pottery. It's very important.
I can write very well.
Calendars. You guys need a couple calendars? I could do that for you.
Pretty advanced for 6th century.
Yeah.
This isn't the philosophers of ancient Greece we're talking about.
I imagine that it was, because I imagine that these guys probably all like agreed, like someone came forward and was like, hey, I've got this thing that'll help us out. And everyone probably said like, yes. Whereas, the Greeks were all like, I don't think so. I wrote my own and now let's go ahead and compare it.
Oh, the Greeks were definitely snobby.
Oh, of course.
100%. So most of the great stone cities of Maya, however, were abandoned by 900 AD. Like I said before, unlike other scattered indigenous peoples, the Mayans were localized. They, so going forward, particularly for me, like I said, I'm really focusing in on the northern Maya lowlands.
Mhm.
So this would be the Yucatan. The region varies widely in environment, which I did not know, ranging from desert to rainforest.
Oh, I don't think that it.
which
I don't think
which
I
is
realized that it reached so far north that it was desert.
it
That
is
was, huh?
bizarre. Yeah,
Yeah.
bizarre. Um, not
That's-
only that, it's estimated that between 3 and 13 million people lived here in the classic period, which is the period that I'm referring to now. They lived roughly in 30 small, a word I had never seen before, polities, which just really means an organized civil state. And they
Oh,
ranged in
okay, yeah.
sizes from expansive regional states to smaller city states and even loosely organized associations. Across these, they spoke different languages and dialects, and they even practiced different social and political organization.
Hmm.
The Maya community shared, however, a market economy. So this was kind of interesting. There were two markets in any given Mayan city.
Mm-hmm.
One was an elite controlled trading network of exotic materials, and the other one was just a day to day market for normal individuals like us. They innovate.
That's wow.
Sorry.
Mm, and no. Keep going because I don't want to ask something that you're gonna explain. Please.
Okay. They innovated complex ways to retain water, including bedrock chambers called chultuns or chultuns,
Mm-hmm.
wells and reservoirs. They had enhanced agricultural production represented by terraces and raised and drained fields. Not only that, but they built public spaces, private spaces, and even infrastructure in the form of roads, public plazas, and storage facilities.
I feel like we've made some of these like comments perhaps in the past, but it it makes my mind reel to think what humanity could be today if these individuals, if these civilizations were not just absolutely decimated
Yeah,
later on.
it's
Like,
true.
you know,
Well, here's the weird thing about them, though. This is actually the last thing that I have on them. The decline of the Mayan civilization. No one really knows what happens to them. This happened right at the end of the 8th century through the end of the 9th century. So roughly about 100 years.
hmm,
One by one, the cities became abandoned. And what actually like theorists have finally come up with why they think this happened. It's believed that overpopulation coupled with overuse of land because they were so localized. And then on top of that, the endemic warfare and an extended period of drought.
I was going to ask if they fought amongst themselves.
So, right at the end of the peak of their power, there was a war. And I want to say it might have been the Spanish Civil War.
So,
I'm going to have to check that.
so I think actually the next piece of information I think that I have might actually then kind of address some of that. And
Oh,
that
okay,
wasn't,
cool.
yeah, and that wasn't me like setting it up to be like, okay, I'm back over. Because I thought we were talking about a period before when I was gonna discuss. Um, so I don't know if you had read about an individual by the name of Jacinto Carec.
Does not ring a bell.
Canek, I'm sorry. So he was an 18th century Mayan who I feel like I'm hearing things coming from your apartment, but I'm thinking that they're happening in my apartment.
Oh,
Either that or I'm not being murdered right now because of the fact that, I'm on the phone. I'm on this call and this recording with you. In which case, when we finish, just shoot me a quick text,
I'm a
5-10
witness.
minutes. So Jacinto Canek was an 18th century Mayan who had actually led a revolt against the Spanish. So just some background here. So the Spanish conquering over the Mayans people seem to have ended in the late, actually 17th century is what I had come across.
Mm.
After they defeated the last kind of surviving peoples. And this was a group that was known as the Itza, which was in like the Itza kingdom, existed in modern day Guatemala. And so during that time, however, like the Spanish had systematically essentially like erased all cultural references and artifacts of the Mayans, like art, writings, structures and buildings. And this all, like I said, culminated in 1697, apparently, was once the Itza were finally like defeated and conquered. So Jacinto was actually born Jacinto Uc, UC, but he eventually adopted the name Canek because that was the title that was used for these Itza kings. So Itza kings were referred to as Canek. So it was a way of like holding on to his like Mayan heritage and his Mayan background. So when he was born, he eventually did go ahead and he studied Latin and history at a Franciscan monastery, but he was kicked out for what they described as like his rebellious ways. So as a result, that led him to be like really bitter towards Spanish rule, because this was again at a period when the Spanish, had still had control over Mexico. It was still part of the Spanish Empire. So he'd been really bitter towards the Spanish, as well as the Catholic Church. It still tastes delicious, this beer, I swear.
It's really good, honestly.
So in November of 1761, he got into an argument with a priest in the city of Castile. And when he got into that argument, he had like threatened to kill this priest. So the priest had went and like complained to him about authorities, or complained to authorities about him, about this happening. The next day, while the priest was leading mass, he had made a false claim. This is Jacinto, had made a false claim that there was a fire in the church. And the thought was that he was trying to get everybody out of the church so he could actually kill the priest.
Yeah.
Despite folks like evacuating, he didn't actually kill the priest. Don't know why, but he didn't. This apparently, though, had made those folks that were of Mayan ancestry and still kind of identified in certain regards as Mayan, start to like rally around him as the leader against Spanish rule in the region. So much so that like people were kissing his hands and his feet, which were apparently, again, signs of obedience to him and to his cause. So very short.
Hell?
Oh yeah. So this all literally happens between roughly like November 6th, November 7th, and all of this culminates by the end of November. So this is like a 3-week period. So on November 19th, there was a merchant named Diego Pacheco who had arrived. He was a Spanish merchant. He arrived in the region to collect some debts. So learning of his arrival, Canek and some of the like other village elders had gathered with like spears and whatnot, and they killed Pacheco.
Damn.
That same day, after they had killed Pacheco, the people that were like rallying around him had crowned him their king. And what they had done was that they had gone to like the local church. They had stolen the statue of the Virgin of Guadalupe and taken the crown off of her head and had crowned it on him.
Oh my God.
In doing so, then he then claimed that he had magical powers, and the powers of then like 5 brujos, which are like medicine men. So
yeah. Yep.
So now he is this like divine being in their eyes. So learning of this, the Spanish had sent someone named Captain Tiburcio Cosgaya, and he was sent to put down this like rebellion that was starting to take form. However, when he had showed up, he, along with 5 other men, were killed in an altercation, like in a skirmish between them and this group of rebels. The Spanish, not wanting this rebellion to obviously like spread by any means. They had sent a force of 500 men to go ahead and put this down. When they arrived, they were met by 1,500 Mayans in the city. However, the Spanish prevailed. This was now hand-to-hand combat. 1,500 Mayans versus 500 Spanish.
Jesus.
Yeah, dude. And they had, prevailed. But during it, Connect had escaped along with a couple of other, like men and whatnot. Naturally, in due time, he wound up being, captured, and he was sentenced to death. And specifically, he was sentenced, quote, to be tortured, his body broken, and thereafter burned, and the ashes scattered in the wind. So they did this all then in the town square. To make an example, alongside them, they hanged 8 of the men that he was with, and they lashed 200 other folks who were like fighting alongside with him.
Whoa.
Many years later, then, his name wound up recurring and became like a rallying cry during what was known as the Caste War of Yucatan, which yet again saw folks trying to like rise up against Spanish rule. And the Caste War of Yucatan, which I didn't get terribly into, lasted from 1847 until 1901. Just beat the living crap out of one another.
Look at that. That
Right?
might be the war.
That's one when you had said, I think
Yeah.
there was war. That's what the war, I believe, was. The Caste War of Yucatan.
Wow.
Yeah. Bit of a long one, but
No, not long enough. Some might say.
we like a good rabble rouser.
I like a good yarn.
As do I.
Love a good yarn.
Love a good yarn. Can't go wrong there.
So we would be remiss if we talked about the Yucatan but didn't mention Cancun.
Of course.
Of course, America's favorite spring break party spot. Yeah, I still have never been.
Neither have I. I feel like it's good. If you and I have made it successfully to 32 years old without going to Cancun, I don't think we're allowed to go now at this point.
Oh, no, that we will not.
Mm-mm.
So Cancun actually is, a huge tourist hotspot. And this information is from January 2020, which is fine because I wouldn't want to take any information past that. The pandemic and everything would affect these numbers. But in January of 2020, it was estimated that Cancun was bringing in on tourism alone $22.5 billion yearly.
Holy shit. Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Whoa.
That's a high number. But actually Cancun has some kind of cool features. So I didn't know this, but the sand won't burn your feet in Cancun.
I have leather feet personally, so I don't usually have my feet don't.
You're immune anyway.
Our buddy Mike used to always get very concerned when we were in Italy, and I would put cigarettes out.
Oh my God.
On my feet. Well, I would put it on the ground, and then I'd be able to stomp it out with my feet.
Yeah.
Yep. Now that I say it out loud, not nearly as proud.
We'll get one of the interns to take care of it in post.
Yeah, we got Hector over here.
Yeah, thanks, Hector. So the sand in Cancun is actually made from crushed coral. So not only is it beautiful, it's all white sand, but it naturally cools under your feet because it doesn't retain heat like normal sand would.
Now, not to. When you said created from, like, are they making it, or is this naturally occurring?
After, I believe it was a hurricane, I think it was Hurricane Wilma in 2005. Some 8 miles of beach along Cancun got wrecked.
Oh.
So and I believe the figure was either 70 million or $70 billion. Some landfill project. They created a sand
Huh.
beach. But there's also the second greatest reef in the world is in that water.
What is? I mean, so the
It's
first one is the Great Barrier.
yeah, this one's the Maya Reef.
Oh, I don't think I've actually ever heard of it before.
I hadn't either until I read about it.
Huh.
So it could be from that, or it could be from, the massive fill project that they did.
Interesting.
Yep.
Huh.
But white sand in Cancun. Only 3 people used to live there, all the way up until 1970.
That so like this information, like and I've got again very little as well, or I shouldn't say as well. I don't know what you have, but it was the last thing, ironically enough, that I had decided to like look up real quick, and I saw the same thing, and I did not realize that Cancun realistically is such a new
Yeah,
tourist
I had no idea.
destination. No idea.
It's so random, but so all the way up until January 1970, these 3 people worked on a coconut plantation. They were the caretakers of a coconut plantation.
That's so crazy.
So random. Another really interesting thing about Cancun, there's an entire Cancun underwater museum.
Oh,
Yeah, the Underwater Museum of Contemporary Art, the MUSA, consists of over 500 life-size sculptures, making it one of the largest underwater artificial art attractions in the world.
is it one of those situations where like you go in almost like subway style, or is this something that like I'd
No,
have
you
like
snorkel.
Oh, I was just really.
Yeah, you snorkel.
Is it possible for us to go and have like an adult vacation in Cancun and
I
do
think
these
that's
things, or would we just
didn't we
land?
didn't we just say how we would
I
never
know.
go to
You
Cancun?
see, and this is why we still can't, because it automatically means that we would convince ourselves we could go, and then we
Fickle.
would land, and I would automatically, or you would automatically say, let's go ahead and have an LIT. And someone would then cart our asses back to the airport 5 to 7 days later.
That's a fact. So we can't go to Cancun. Sorry.
No.
I did not also know. I also didn't know that Cancun does not abide by daylight savings time.
Wait a second, really? Is it just the city that doesn't?
No, actually, the entire state that Cancun sits in doesn't do this.
Huh.
So this actually means that the time difference between Cancun and places that observe daylight savings time differs by an hour every 6 months.
Huh. I didn't know that at all.
Yeah, just in case you're going to be flying over there anytime soon.
Well, I've just been told that I'm not allowed to, and it sounds like I shouldn't be allowed to either.
You told you you're not allowed to.
And I think I'm gonna trust me on this one too. It's rare that I do, but I'm gonna trust me on this one also.
When you're the voice of reason, I'm listening.
Oh, that's it. Listen, we have to know we are in some dire straits, and I'm going. Maybe we should second guess this.
Yeah.
Huh.
Not only, in addition to all of that, Cancun has the longest underwater cave in the world. And this is where I read the word that you said before, cenote or cenote.
Yeah.
So these make up miles upon miles of caves and caverns, and they're freshwater underground sinkholes.
Oh, I didn't know they were freshwater. Well,
yeah.
Groundwater, duh.
Yep. So avid divers can actually go and explore these on their own if they want, but you can also snorkel from above.
Huh.
And then this is going to be my last little bit, but I couldn't go without looking up at least one crazy Cancun story.
Okay.
So this is from actually a Reddit user, Johnny Tsunami.
Yes. Oh, and you know what?
What a name.
Definitely can't go to Cancun.
Definitely not.
Because I would seek out the person named Johnny Tsunami.
Johnny Tsunami, right. So his comment was from 6 years ago. Here's the story. Apparently, this person goes annually to Cancun.
Okay.
So 6 years ago, he was 19. Last year, I was 19. My buddies and I went on a week-long trip to Cancun, Mexico. We planned on partying, drinking, going as hard as possible daily. One night, we decided to leave our resort and hit up a club on the strip where the nightlife is crazy. We all get wasted at the club. We're having a great time. 2 of my friends decided to leave a little early, which was cool, leaving me with just one of my friends. At around 3:30 a.m., my friend and I leave the club and start walking down the strip. Out of nowhere, a group of about 5 hookers are all over us on the sidewalk of the street.
Oh, no.
2 of them are on me, hands all over me, down my pants, grabbing my junk. One focuses on me and pops out her huge fake tits and tells me to start sucking on them. And then in parentheses, I was extremely drunk. Yes, we were in public on the street. So I did. She tells me to come have sex with her for $50 for everything, but I declined since I will never pay for sex. After a couple of minutes of trying to convince me, she gives up and walks away. As I'm walking away, a couple of street vendors yelled to me, "Check your pockets." So I do. And I realized the $50 bill I had was gone. The vendors start laughing hysterically when they see my reaction. I confronted the hooker. She played dumb and told me to leave her alone. Cool. Got pickpocketed by hookers in Cancun. Furthermore, I find my friend and he tells me the shit he got into. He paid for a blowjob, $15, as he was getting it from the prostitute. As he was getting it from the prostitute, the cops show up and are threatening to arrest him. They told him to give them all of his money or he will be arrested and brought to jail. He gave them everything, which was $30 in his wallet, and they let him go. Cancun is very corrupt. Yes, we could have avoided these situations, but there are many stories of corrupt police officers scamming tourists. Cancun is an awesome place to vacation, but just be careful.
I feel like this reinforces the idea that nothing good happens after 2 a.m.
Anywhere,
After-
especially not in Cancun.
especially not in Cancun.
And that's
You know what,
1 a.m.
though?
other places, so just stay home.
And you know what? And I hate to be this guy. You deserved, Johnny Tsunami, everything you got. Because, listen, I've been known to gallivant in a random city now and then.
We've rabble-roused.
We've rabble-roused. We've clawed our ways back to where we have to be. However, there are certain things in certain situations. The second that someone started to touch me on the streets,
Alarms.
Oh, and you know me, I'm not a nasty drunk, but I can be a nasty drunk. And I feel like I would start really picking and choosing my very select Spanish and throwing that around. And none of it's good Spanish. None of it's good Spanish.
Doesn't matter.
Mm.
Gets the point across.
Interestingly enough, the one thing that I looked at is and you know, kind of the last thing. So Cancun in that particular area is one of the areas like in Mexico that has not really experienced too much of the troubles of drug trafficking like so many other parts of Mexico. However, it has gotten worse. And 2019 was the first year that Cancun saw a decrease in tourism compared to like over the previous 8 years. It had continually increased, and 2019 was the first time it had gone down. And it does seem to be linked to an increase of problems with drug trafficking.
Oh, wow. No way.
Yeah. I got one last thing for you.
Okay.
Cancun has 2 sister cities. One of them is here in the United States. What do you think is the sister city with Cancun? And it was named the sister city, I want to say I saw like in 1975. So roughly right around the time when tourism started to like pick up. But what do you think is the sister city with Cancun?
I haven't the slightest idea. Shot in the dark. I'm going to say Charleston, South Carolina.
Ooh, I'm sorry. We were looking for Wichita, Kansas.
How does that make sense?
I don't know, because I wrote down, because when I think Mexican paradise, I think Kansas.
That's what I'm saying. Those are 2 polar opposites.
I have no idea why, but that is one of the sister cities.
What constitutes a sister city?
I believe it's really just something that like is agreed upon on paper between like, you know, like mayors or governors for tourism purposes, maybe, like, you know. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you don't have the money to go to Cancun, save your money and don't go to Wichita.
Yeah.
I think that's the best advice I can give there.
Then stay home.
Oh, goodness.
And
Yeah.
on that note, I think it's time for us to say goodbye.
I think it is. I think it is. I think we did you know what? I think we really got our way through this one. All right.
Oh, well, yeah.
Yeah.
We've made it through. We've made it through everyone so far.
I think you're very right. I can't wait to do this again in person.
Oh, me too. Yeah, this whole remote business is it's getting real old real quick.
There was no reason for this other than the fact is that I went out this weekend and was a piece of shit and was like, I can't get my act together. I'm sorry, I can't get my act together this weekend.
The first step is honesty.
Oh, and I'll always be honest when I'm a piece of shit.
Yeah.
So here I am.
And honestly, would you guys come and send us some beer suggestions at beersandpodcast@gmail.com
or on Instagram at Beers and Podcast.
Yeah, come at us on Instagram. Actually, I'd be interested to see what everyone has to say.
Yeah, or on Twitter.
I run that account, by the way, so you're gonna get the sass in the business. You know what I'm saying?
He does. You'll know the vast difference between when Alex is posting and when I'm posting, because my posting will usually be something that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Although you can guarantee that there'll be some wordplay no matter who is posting.
100%. And Leslie on Twitter at Beers M1.
There you go. There
right,
you go.
Y'all stay beautiful, Nick.
Y'all stay beautiful too, Alex.
I'll stay you soon.
I'll stay you beautiful.
I'll stay you soon, buddy.
Goodbye.
See ya.